Welcome to the Leadership Lyceum, a CEO's virtual mentor. Now, here's your host, Tom Lindquist.
Glad to have you back in the Leadership Lyceum, where we bring you direct access to top CEOs and directors of boards in an interview format that provides insight on situational issues that confront CEOs every day. It is a CEO's virtual mentor. Welcome to episode 19. I'm joined by Mary Powell, President and Chief Executive Officer of Green Mountain Power in Vermont. This episode 19 presents a unique CEO profile in Mary Powell. Many of the CEOs that we've featured in the past have come from science, technology, and engineering disciplines or law or finance backgrounds. Mary was raised in an artistic household on New York's Upper West Side. Her father was a hardworking, constantly auditioning New York actor. Mary attended the Fiorello H. LaGuardia High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts, made widely famous by the 1980 dramatic film Fame, which was based on student life at the School of Performing Arts. Mary studied art with a particular passion for charcoal drawing, with its kinetic form of big, bold, and fast movements. She was graduated with a degree in liberal arts from Keene State College in New Hampshire. Her career experience prior to Green Mountain Power included a breadth of variety for a large fund manager specializing in money markets, for state government, and in banking. Through our conversation, it will become very apparent how Mary's creative and liberal arts background and variety of experience renders her as a uniquely effective leader in a utility industry that most often abides by tradition. I'd like to express our thanks to the clients of Lyceum Leadership Consulting. They enable us to bring you this podcast. I'll be right back with Mary Powell, President and CEO of Green Mountain Power. It's my great pleasure to be here at Green Mountain Power in Colchester, Vermont, on the shores of Lake Champlain, on the start of Thanksgiving week here with Green Mountain Power President and CEO, Mary Powell. Thank you for joining me as a guest on the program today, and thank you for hosting me here in this snow-blanketed, festive, pre-Thanksgiving environment here, Mary.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Green Mountain Power serves approximately 265,000 residential and business electricity customers in Vermont and is partnering with them to improve lives and transform communities. And I'll repeat that for emphasis. It's partnering with them to improve lives and transform communities. Some notable recent highlights. Green Mountain Power was the only utility named to Fast Company's 2018 list of most innovative companies for energy. It is the first utility in the world to get a B Corp certification meeting rigorous social, environmental, accountability, and transparency standards, and committing to use business as a force for good. And a last highlight on my list, and I'm sure there's many more worth speaking about and that I'm overlooking, J.D. Power's 2018 rankings put Green Mountain Power among top utilities for customer satisfaction. There was a whole progression that got you to where you are today. I note the Fast Company achievement, the B Corp, and the J.D. Power, and take each one a little bit deeper and the meaning of each one of those, and then work backwards, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So Fast Company.
Wonderful. It's exciting. It's exciting because actually out of all that you listed, I would say the one that means the most to me is everything related to how customers feel about us. Because, actually we don't serve 265,000 customers. We actually serve about 450,000 Vermonters.
Okay.
I always say that because I think it's a funny thing of this business. We do, you said it technically correct, Tom.
Okay.
We have 265,000 meters.
Got it.
But I always think in terms of human beings,
Right.
and in terms of human beings, we serve 80% of Vermont, and Vermont's a state of about 620,000 people. And so for me, the most significant accomplishments are those that really highlight that we've gotten to a point as a company where customers actually feel how much we love them and feel how much we are trying to transform in a way that is consistent with what they tell us they value. really they go together, right? Because J.D. Power is so much about how satisfied are your customers, how much do they trust you. I mean, that's the number that always throws me for a loop is, it's something like 92 to 94% of our customers trust us. And so that's an important responsibility, actually, when your customers trust you that much and are that satisfied. But it also then really ties to the fast company piece, because all of, it's funny getting recognized for innovation, because you don't innovate for innovation's sake, I don't think. I mean, maybe some do. We innovate because of the values of the customers we serve. We're innovating because we wanted to deliver them all that they dreamed of and more in the context of their relationship with energy. And they dreamed of a future that's green, a future that's low carbon, a future that's comfortable, reliable, but also cost effective, and so the work we've done around innovating is how do we innovate in a way that really defies the common thinking of, certainly a decade ago, and some thinking I still hear, which is you can be green and high cost or dirty and cheap. So we've sort of said, no, our job is to innovate a future that is low carbon, low cost, and incredibly reliable and comfortable for our customers in their homes and their businesses. So that's how I see those two really linked together, because all of the innovations have been about how do we deliver on that very transformative future where we're using energy as a force for good.
So you use two words there that leave the question to defining those words: dreams, customer dreams, and then love. You're using very strong, powerful words around your customers. Where does that come from? Honestly,
I feel like one of the earliest memories I have growing up is one of recognizing the power of love. So I've always been mystified by why it's not more commonly tapped into, actually, because I think when it is, it can be one of the most transformative powers and energy, I think, that can come from it. Yeah, so I use strong words. I use strong words to be, sometimes honestly, to be provocative with myself as much as with those that I'm working with. Imagine a future where, we're doing this out of a place of loving our customers. In many service industries, it's this mentality of the customer is almost an annoyance that has to be dealt with, versus really honoring them and really honoring that we exist, but for our customers, we would not exist. We exist for them. We exist to make their lives better tomorrow than they are today. So I use very strong words. And to me, the dreams, it is a strong word, and it's about how do you pull out from what customers are telling you they want. How do you pull out of that a broader dream that you can move towards, so that you're really delivering on something, in some cases, that they may not have articulated. Like, I would actually use the program we did around the Tesla Powerwall as a profound example of that. We didn't have customers telling us, we want you to go find us a storage device, right, that we can put in our homes and feel better about tapping into our solar energy and becoming more reliable. But we tapped into what they wanted and ways to accomplish it. We leaped to technologies like that, and we found we were realizing that we were providing them something that felt like it was making their dreams come true.
Mary is referring to the storage device's potential ability at scale to reduce the dependence on a type of power generation that is available at a moment's notice to serve peak electricity demand. The dependence on these peakers, as Mary states, is a major problem for the region. The New England region has natural gas pipeline constraints that render heavy oil as the available fuel for these peakers to serve that demand rather than cleaner burning natural gas. To get a clearer sense of the puzzle that New England faces, listen to episode 17, where we untangled the threads with Gordon Von Wheely, whose company, ISO New England, runs the electric transmission grid for the whole of New England. On the subject of the demand for peakers in the New England region, which, as we stated, are largely fueled by oil due to the natural gas pipeline constraints, ISO New England shares this astonishing fact. If you look to see how much oil New England burned over the 24-month period spanned by the years 2016 and 2017, on average over that period, the region would burn less than 2 million barrels of oil, dealing with hot summer days and cold snaps in the winter. During only a 10-day period that spanned from the end of December 2017 through the first week of January 2018, the region burned the same amount, an astonishing 2 million barrels of oil. The storage benefit of the Tesla Powerwall that Mary described may not eliminate, but it will certainly reduce at least that home's reliance on quick-start, standby, peaking, oil-fueled power that at this moment New England relies upon. But Mary Powell and Green Mountain Power are seeing a deeper community good than just simply reducing home consumption and reliance on peakers.
We're energy sharing with them in a way that is providing societal and environmental good, not just to them, but to all of their neighbors and their community and their state.
We'll be right back to talk about innovation with our guest, Mary Powell, President and CEO of Green Mountain Power. We're back with Mary Powell, President and CEO of Green Mountain Power. We've been speaking about satisfying customer dreams, but the pathway to fulfillment runs through innovation. What does innovation mean at Green Mountain Power?
Oh, it's huge. One of the lines I say a lot is culture eats strategy, and I wasn't the inventor of that line, but I've added to it. I've said culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so one of the things right from when I first came to the organization was I focused obsessively on the culture of the company. And it really was about transforming the environment to become one where it was customer obsessed, truly customer obsessed, and really becoming one that was, we called at the time, the unutility. So immediately our work was around not just how do we bring customer obsession, love of Vermonters, love of their values, how do we imprint that in everything we do in every single way, but then it really became very clear that we needed to become more and more innovative if we were going to be able to deliver on this very bold future that we felt like our customers were telling us we needed to accomplish on their behalf, which was this low carbon, low cost, incredibly reliable future. The culture went from, I would say initially it was around a lot around being fast, fun, and effective. So it was about customer obsessed, deliver quick, have anybody out in the field be empowered to answer questions, to make decisions. So really rooting out all the bureaucracy. And so we're a very flat, very lean organization. So that sort of came first, and then the innovation came. And that was innovative in a way, but it was definitely innovative for a utility.
In fact, the first Fast Company recognition for Green Mountain Power was back in 2008. Mary was named one of their Fast 50 in the country for the work she had led around transforming a utility culture.
It was really, though, around operational culture that was very innovative for a utility. Because again, we were much leaner, we were much faster, and we were much more customer obsessed than the average. Then it became clear we had to get more innovative on the actual energy side.
As we look back behind us, you've got this innovative space that brings people together. It's very unique, and I'm struck by it. What's behind the physical space for innovation?
I believe that space impacts behavior in a huge way. So even in our sort of innovation 1.0, we moved to very open space environment, very egalitarian in the sense that I have the same size desk as everybody else in the company. I work at a stand-up desk in a very colorful space right next to where the line department comes in and out in the morning, and in one of the highest traffic parts of the building. I work in the highest traffic area so that I'm maximizing interaction and building a sense it's one team, flat organization, we're all working together for customers, and we're all innovating.
Does physical space have any bearing on innovation? An April 3rd, 2013 article on architecture website Arch Daily entitled "Can Architecture Make Us More Creative?" by Jonathan Molloy posed an interesting lead-in question. What do MIT's Building 20, the ancient Greek agora, 18th century British tea houses, and early 20th century Parisian cafes have in common? They were some of the most creative spaces in the world, goes the answer. The article continues. The gatherers in those spaces participated in an informal discourse driven by passionate involvement, and these places, although for different reasons, fostered interaction by bringing people together and giving them a place to talk. As blogger Jonah Lair aptly puts it, the most creative spaces are those which hurl us together. It is the human friction that makes the sparks. As I waited for Mary and our interview to begin, I treated myself to the focal point of the Green Mountain Power Building. You can have a look at a brief video that presents a panoramic view of the space on our website and through a link in the album notes. It's a whimsical and colorful open space graced with 2 swings attached somewhere high above that form one side of a section of its many collaborative spaces. It's called the Inspire Space. Mary took the physical space a few steps deeper. As they began to develop their own innovations in the unique space, she began to see the prospect for what she calls stacking benefits through a community innovative space.
We are passionate about the socioeconomic prosperity of Vermont. How can we attract business to Vermont? And so we launched this Inspire Space. The idea that I had was we need people innovating here. We will offer to share data with people who want to move in and innovate. But we did a national contest and we attracted innovators we've got some innovators from Brooklyn, we've got some innovators from different parts of the Northeast that then wanted to move in, use our space, and innovate with us on dramatic changes. We've done a number of really interesting projects with a number of innovators, but it was also about culture. It was also about shaking up the culture and if we're gonna have an innovative culture, let's have innovators in our space, in the same space, so that we're working together. This has like a collaboratory piece of it. I love that term, collaboratory, because through collaborations, you're then coming up with ideas that neither one of you could have on your own, and in our case, for the Vermonters we serve.
We'll be right back with Mary Powell. We're back with Mary Powell, President and CEO of Green Mountain Power. I'm impressed because it seems like you've redefined the boundaries around your company, and you've done that over time. Are you looking to continue to redefine?
I'm laughing because I'm thinking, and I'm like, I see no boundaries.
Well, go ahead.
So you're looking for a boundary, and I just by definition, I just don't see boundaries, for better or for worse. So everything we do has to have benefit to customers. One great example, we worked with a company called Virtual Peaker. We really are moving to this role of being more of a symphony conductor, of an orchestration of all these distributed energy devices. In the area of sort of moving into this community, home, and business-based energy system that we see serving the world in decades to come, what's so exciting is we're just on the beginning of the path of this. I love when I have these conversations, I love sitting here knowing that there is going to be something unbelievably cool and magnificent that we can be doing a year or two from now that I could never picture sitting here today. Because it is about creating that culture of imagination. So much of it is just starting that acceleration of utilizing that customer obsession, that customer love, that culture of innovation, and the need to move dramatically from both a planet perspective and a people perspective to a carbon-free world. All of those forces combined makes what we have ahead of us incredibly exciting. So I don't see boundaries.
When you look at Green Mountain Power versus other utilities out there, what distinguishes you in terms of your ability to do things maybe almost boundaryless?
It's funny we're talking about no boundaries in like a highly regulated utility world.
You have a publicly traded company. You don't, but most of your peers would be publicly traded companies. They'll be serving Wall Street and rating agencies and banks and everyone else. Many masters, they'll be dealing with regulatory constraints that they face. And their ability to innovate might be a little bit boxed in from doing that.
There's intense guardrails. I mean, that's the way I look at it. Like, I don't see boundaries or limits on what we could do to enrich the lives of Vermonters, but everybody operates with guardrails. In this business, there's really good, strong guardrails for a reason, because you're providing an essential service, because Vermonters, in our case, need to feel like there's rigorous process on our costs, on how we impact and how we relate to customers. So we have, while we're doing all of this innovative stuff, we also try to love and embrace the process of intense regulatory structures. I had a stint in state government before coming here. When I came to Green Mountain Power, they were very typical in that everything from a regulatory perspective was through mountains of lawyers and papers, and there was no real human interaction. And it comes back to that customer obsession. Really what regulators want, what the political leaders who have oversight over you want, is for you to be doing a really good job serving your customers. So what we found was the North Star for our regulatory guardrails and our innovation work is the exact same North Star. It's customers. I like to think one of the culture changes that was most significant was the notion of embracing the regulators, embracing regulation, because when done well and right, it gives the public and all the stakeholders confidence in the company. The challenge is to not let those important structural guardrails box you in terms of, I'm going to use that dream word again, into the context of how you dream about what you could do for customers.
We'll be right back with Mary Powell to discuss a little of Green Mountain Power's mergers and acquisition experience. In 2007, Green Mountain Power was acquired by Gaz Metro, now known as Énergir. Énergir is a Montreal-based privately held limited partnership. Its largest owner is Trencap at 43%. Trencap is in turn majority owned by Crown Corporation and institutional investor La Caisse des Dépôts et Placements de Québec, or CDPQ, or the Caisse by most Americans. When they acquired you back in 2007, it was really taking the company private. And somewhere along the way, I think one of the benefits of private might have been described by you as the ability to soar.
Having worked for a public company and twice in my career, and having worked now as being privately held, I don't want anybody to use the public company as an excuse not to soar. Because I don't believe it. You can soar with your focus being your customer. The biggest thing that I felt was really holding us back for our size was what I would say the Dilbert kind of bureaucracy that came with being publicly held. So it wasn't even so much that there were guardrails of investor demands, because we were so small. I mean, some investors were following us closely, but really you got to check your ego of how many were. So between Sarbanes-Oxley and a lot of what you had to go through, we literally shed a couple $1 million of lawyerly and accountant bureaucracy when we went from being publicly held to privately held. So, and that saved our customers money. And then it's not so much, are you public, are you private? It's all about, who are your investors? We have such an amazing investor. We are so lucky. Vermont is so lucky because we have an investor that really believes in local management, really believes we have a local management team, we have a local board of directors.
Strategically speaking, then that ended up leading in 2012 to CVPS and that acquisition. And
absolutely.
In the past, you had spoken about how really critically important that was for Vermonters too, from a broader perspective.
Absolutely. I certainly wasn't the first person to observe this. There were many people. I just was maybe part of the first team that pulled off a solution. But when you start in this industry and you're in Vermont and you're in this, it's a little state. I mean, there's 620,000 of us. And you literally had 2 investor-owned utilities with 2 major cost structures serving a rather small population. I mean, my North Star on it was just really obvious and really simple, which is, it seemed like we had really transformed our culture to be fast, fun, and effective. We had dramatically flattened and shrunk the team, and were providing service at a much higher level than we were before. And so when we saw the opportunity to work with our investor to pull off that combination and be stronger as one company, saving, I mean, we promised to save Vermonters $144 million, which is huge for a tiny state. I think that's a decent sized number in any state, but for a tiny state like Vermont, that's a big number. And now we're on track. We'll probably be more like 170 million by the time the measurement period is over. So it's been a very, very successful story for Vermonters.
We'll be right back for the conclusion of the program with Mary Powell. We're back for the conclusion of the program with Mary Powell, President and CEO of Green Mountain Power. In the introduction to the episode, we mentioned Mary's unique artistic and liberal arts upbringing. What do you draw upon from that upbringing?
Well, I think I've coined myself the accidental executive for a number of reasons, but one of them, and as I think you know, I turned down the opportunity to come to Green Mountain Power 3 times before I said yes, because I could not see how it was simpatico with how I started life, where my path. And of course, it's been an amazing and wild and wonderful adventure. But yeah, I came from a highly dysfunctional, highly creative family on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I was an art student. I went to the High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts. And I've always been a very purpose-driven person, whether it was collecting stray dogs off the streets of New York when I was a kid, or working to always try to use love as a power to bring good into an oft-times wonderful, but oft-times sort of crazy home in my upbringing. I found I could use all of that in the business world, so go figure. But I'm driven by a bigger impact of what value I want to see. And one of the things I love more than anything is working with people. That's the part that's not accidental. I fell into business and I'm like, business is no more than a compilation of a bunch of human beings. Right. And I love people. And there's nothing more that I love than working with a group of people and seeing us all accomplish something together that none of us could have done on our own. All these different paths and different bizarre things we have in our background, and how you can, under the right circumstances, with a large dose of, in this case, customer obsession and love and a North Star, bring it all together to accomplish so much more for society than any one of us could do on our own. It's alchemy.
It's almost as if the perfect platform to maximize societal benefit has sort of found you.
It has found me, exactly. Exactly. I love it.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
It's fitting to close this conversation with Mary Powell in episode 19 in an earlier tradition of the closing of our program, A CEO's Virtual Mentor, with a spot called Famous Last Words. Along with Roman Stoic philosopher, statesman, and dramatist Seneca, Mary Powell could say, "Believe me, true joy is a serious business." We hope you found this episode 19 featuring Mary Powell informative and educational. Keep your eyes out in March for episode 20 featuring Patricia Kampling, CEO of Alliant Energy in Madison, Wisconsin. Once again, special thanks to the clients of Lyceum Leadership Consulting for enabling the production of A CEO's Virtual Mentor. See you next month for episode 20. Leadership Lyceum, A CEO's Virtual Mentor, has been a production of the Leadership Lyceum LLC, copyright 2019, all rights reserved.